Goedenavond iedereen. We gaan in een paar minuten live in gesprek met Dr. Shantella Sherman over de topic popculture. En dat doen we met Don Karleon en Sister Benji. Ja, we wachten even op de tijd, zodat iedereen even meeluistert, intuned, inlogt, linkjes heeft gedeeld. We zijn zo bij jullie terug. Live in conversation met Dr. Shantella Sherman over popculture. Goedenavond, daar zijn we weer. Welkom bij House Khepera. Even kijken of iedereen erbij is. Welkom, welkom, welkom. We zijn vandaag in gesprek met Dr. Shantella Sherman. Dr. Shantella Sherman, are you there? Hi, you are.
Hi, I am here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well.
Yes, how are you? You're looking great. Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
I haven't been seeing you for a while, but you look great. We're waiting for Don Karleon and Sister Benji to join us. Hey, there's Don Karleon.
Yeah.
Welcome, Don.
Good evening, Dr. Chantel. Blessed night.
Hey, how goes it?
Well, it's a pleasure to be online live with you tonight.
Pleased to be here.
Yes, we're waiting for Sister Benji. There she is. There is Sister Benji. Thank you again for joining us.
Hey, there we are.
Yes, it's always a little bit spannend in the beginning, exciting, the beginning, start the live. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us live on Facebook and wherever you are. You are still watching House of Khepera and we're live in conversation with Dr. Shantella, King Don Karleon, and Benji, Sister Benji as we know her, Dankerlui. We will talk about the topic pop culture. And pop culture, you're going to explain what it is so I don't have to do it. Dr. Shantella is a eugenics expert. We're not going to touch that. Perhaps a little bit on the end.
Maybe.
Otherwise, because we're doing these live sessions to give you more information and more let's say, an idea of what it is, what's going out, um, about history, but also what he's doing with us today, if I'm saying this correct. You know that I'm Dutch, we're Dutch, and we're doing our best speaking English, of course. Don Karleon is from Congo, and he speaks from his knowledge from the African sacred science, is very much interested in and knowable, if I say it correctly, about astrology, and he also makes music, and he does do speak. You do events as well, right, Don? Yeah,
Yeah.
you do events as well. Yeah, and Sister Benny also is a teacher and a historian, and also a very well-known person in the community. So I welcome you, all of you. I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about, the topics we are going to talk about. Um, but I also want to say is for our Facebook watchers, you can drop your comments or ask your questions, and will we be asking the question to Dr. Chantel, of course, to Don or Sister Benji. I didn't see the live session on Facebook, so I couldn't share the link. I don't know what happened. Did you
Uh,
see?
Actually, it's live on Facebook because
Oh,
I'm trying
okay.
to.
So I'll check it in a
Ex-
minute so I can do my, little bit of communication with you guys over there. Um, we have sections, four sections, and after every section, we will be asking the questions from Facebook. Doctor, oh no, Don and Benji will also ask questions. Yeah. So I think we just start right ahead. I think Don will do a recap, and then after that, we will start the conversation because Don is going to tell us what we have been doing up till now.
for the
Right.
past 7 weeks. It's been kind of quite busy. We
Mm-hmm.
started on Monday evening, then we went all the way to Wednesday evenings. We tried 2 Wednesdays, then we get back on the Monday evenings. We started with great scholars, actually. We started with Professor Kaba was first, right? Smalls. Now I'm a little bit confused. Professor Kaba was first, who gave us a little introduction into African sacred science, aka African spirituality. And then we went to Professor James Smalls, who took us deeper in and who did really bridge the gaps between the deities who were known from ancient Kemets and Orishas from West Africa, Nigeria, and the Yoruba style. From that point of view, then we went with Sister Benji, who took us with the Black Madonna, Isis, Osset, and Christianity. And then we went back, I guess it was me, right? Um, it was me to be the host of the show. Then I took the viewers, the listeners, into Congo, where they mean it as a stage, but as a spiritual state of mind. Then we had the honor to have brother Paul Obina with his lineage. Do I say it right? Like 8,000 years of African history um, on a flying mode. So we went from year minus 7,000 until 800 BC, I guess, because we didn't have the time to finish all of that. And then from that one, we're having you, Dr. Shantella Sherman, to break it down to us about the pop culture and probably the spirituality in it and anything we have to know about what's going on, especially with the Queen Bee herself being on the top of all the big balls lately and everything was going on. So we like there is much more to talk about. It's an honor to have you tonight on the show, if I may call it a show, the gathering
Yeah.
about, yeah, the African science in general, but especially Black culture specifically. So that was a short recap.
Yes, we did a lot of things if you tell it
Right.
like that. Yeah, we did a lot of things. And the reason why we are doing it, just to make a note, the reason why we're doing it is to give the community like a basic, you know, basic information. Because there are several people who know a lot, there are people who don't know that much. And there are different topics, and it's actually to give you like, because we know we live in an age that there's a lot of information out there, and sometimes you just don't know what to believe or what to follow. So this gives you, a head start, and we share links and we share, books and speakers you can follow, and then just to give you an idea of some, basic information, because it's really really important. So we're going to go to the first question. And of course, that is, what is pop culture?
Okay, and before I get started, it's always a pleasure, Eyedontha, to be with you. King Don, great to meet you. Now, Sister Benji, it's been more than a year where every time we're supposed to get together, something crisscrosses us. So to actually see you in person, I'm kind of geeked. I don't know if that translates well, but I'm chuffed. I'm just really excited. Like, I finally get your face, sister. I'm really, really happy to see you. All right.
That's so sweet. I'm just looking at you. I'm like, oh my God, she's so sweet. You just some sweetness, really, really gorgeous.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we're so happy to see you because just like what Sister I said, actually we're dealing. A lot of people don't know this, but we're dealing with a very powerful force, and that's the media. And you know, even yesterday I just just scrolling, and I just ended up in this there's this it's a cartoon for children. It's called the Wings Club. I don't know if you know about that. It's about this it's supposed to be like this little this school for uh young girls. They're like magicians and stuff like that. And I really don't like the way they draw it because they're so skinny, So they're trying to, no, there's something about it that I don't like. It's supposed to be for girls. So this is the message that they're giving them. You have to be really skinny.
Yes.
But I just ended up just, it's this they have some darker colored girls in this cartoon, and this is this girl. She's like crying her eyes out. What happened? Her hair is an afro. She's crying because her hair it's a disaster. It's terrible. It's all these words that she's using to describe her natural hair. And these are little children, little girls that are watching this program. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, really?
But you
And
know what? I think that leads us, directly into the question about what is pop culture and what is its function. And so I don't think that we take the time. I always say deconstruct. I use that word. I overly use it sometimes because, we tend to see things already bound, and we assume that they started this way. And you don't understand that there were bits and pieces as time went on that literally pulled them together, and that we cement them together. It's not as if they can't be pulled apart and made into other things. And so when we start talking about pop culture, what we're actually talking about are popular images. We're talking about what society has deemed to be their national um, ideas of their origin, what they choose to put forth as their history, what they choose to put forth as their stories of power and might. What is their identity? So it's a type of identity formation. Some people would say nationalism. Okay, what is the national identity of the particular space where you are? And so when we talk about, for instance, America, a lot of it is about white might. It's about white men being powerful, and then all of the things that go along with that. So it becomes white men as saving others. It's about white men being paternalistic, white men being the authority on all things. white men having the intellect, the physical power, the sexual power to do and maintain, whether it's white supremacy or just the power of the nation itself. And so when you start having pop culture, what you do is, for people that, especially again in America, where you have immigrants coming in, no one is speaking the same language necessarily. And then going to a public school, a proper school, wasn't something that all Americans did. So if you're trying to get everyone on the same page at the same time to understand what's acceptable, what's unacceptable, what's in, what's out, what you do is you use photos, you use pictures. And so starting out, a lot of my research dealt with advertising, or what were called trade cards. And so if you can't read, but you can understand an image, which they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, you start to understand that if I draw this Black person to look like an animal, you're actually saying that this is something, not someone, but something that's different. It's outside of the norm. It's something that's dangerous. It's something that's something that you need to be fearful of, or that you need to survey in a different type of way. It's something that can contaminate your children. It's something that throws apart patriotism. It disassembles your communities. It sets aside your education. It tears up your genetics. And so when we start talking about popular culture, some people would say you're programming the nation. Wow. And you're teaching them through entertainment, something that they can laugh at. So a lot of the early images of Africans in this country was something where they were always fallible. They were falling in holes, or something was chasing them, or they were constantly scared. They were the opposite of anything that was considered white. So if you're going to show a white man with power, you're going to always show its polar opposite, which would be a Black man, usually very, very dark. And the darker the person was, the more extreme those stereotypes became. But what you did in doing that was you unified whiteness. You made sure that any white immigrant that came in understood that they were a part of this group as opposed to this one. All right. So they started using the N-word as soon as they learned English proper. All right. You also made it so that dark skin and anything that could be associated with comic timing or miseducation or disease or ruptures. You made it so that people who had dark skin within Black families, or within Native American families, or within Hispanic, Latinx families, anyone who had dark skin, irrespective of where they were considered to be lesser than. And so you'll start to understand that this is a global phenomenon, and it happens not in a vacuum, but all across Europe and all across America and all across the globe, because white supremacy is in place. And understanding that you actually see Black people historically in these spaces in power, but they have been extracted from the pop culture. They've been extracted from the official records. They've been extracted from the tales, the myths, and everything else, as if they did not exist. And so if you look at a place like Australia and you hear people say, or South Africa, the people who were there first were made to be a part of the background, but they weren't considered human. They were considered to be like the plants or the other animals. And I'm saying that in their terms. These are just animals, savages, but they're not a part of the human chain. And because they don't count in the total scheme of what it is that you're dealing with, whether it's our US Constitution, which, once it goes to the Supreme Court several times with different litigation, someone literally says, you have a Supreme Court judge who says, all folks of African ancestry are a part of a different chain of being, and they're not considered human. So based on that, whenever I draw you in ads, whenever I put you in, as new media begins, moving pictures, all films are going to start out depicting Black people a certain way. And then when we get to music, or we have radio broadcasts where it's dramas, people dramatizing things, over the radio, you'll always have someone who's using a dialect that's considered to be African or Black to completely set aside who's there. And I will tell you how this impacts you now, just to give you a brief understanding. If you look at some cartoons that have come up, when you talk about small children, I would ask kids once they watch the film, who were the Black characters in the film? But these are all animals or fish or whatever the case might be.
Cross.
But it's the dialect.
Yes.
It's the dialect in it that you've automatically made. It's a hippo, and the hippo is pink. But you have the language of a very stereotypical Black woman. Yes, child, and da 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 da. So you're teaching through linguistics that this is they're outside of the norm. And so pop culture, again, when we start talking about what it is, it transforms, it moves, it shifts, but it's in anything that's widely broadcast, whether it's social media, television, any type of media, but also ads, books, films, photos, magazines. And when we start talking about bodies, how bodies are supposed to look, what's normal, what's abnormal, you start to see it in the advertising, but just also in the depictions, random pictures within magazines, how the young ladies and how the men are posturing to determine where they fit in the construct of national identity and then racial identity.
Wow.
Yes.
That's beautiful. You know, I was just thinking about when I heard you say, you said you were talking about sexual power, you know, and the first thing that really came to my mind was the president saying that he was gonna grab somebody by the you know what, you know, and it's something that is so really so gross and so rude, and you know, but if it was like a Black person that has said that, you know, I know that the reaction would be totally different, you know. And for instance, I was thinking about two things. That was the first thing that came to mind. But when I heard you talking about the pictures, you know, I was thinking about when they had been lynching Black people, Africans in America, that they actually made like postcards out of them to spread them around. And, you know, except from sending them to people, I know that that was also done to establish the fear in Africans, to show us that, you know what, I just went there, you know what I mean? And I'm just, you know, it's something that is wow, it's making me so, it's such a very strong power that is controlling a lot of young people. You know, you can see that the way that, you know, I work in a school and I see how children oh yeah, I'm going to be wearing Louis Vuitton or I'm Gucci or whatever. And these guys, I mean, these Gucci and these Louis Vuitton, they don't want you in their front door. You're gonna be spending your money on them. Yeah. But they, what the other one called again?
I don't even know. I don't even know those. I don't even know them.
Whatever, you know. Yeah. And it's something that is so, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have these rappers call these names. You know what I mean? And then, you know.
Benji, we're going to talk about this topic in a while. That's the next one. It's a stereotyping, and then continue with so hold your point. I don't know how you say it in English, but hold your point. So when we're going to talk about drilling, then we can you know, bring this up. But first, what I want to do is a short recap from, if you are up to it, Dr. King. My goodness, Dr. King. I don't know if people know Dr. King, but this is King, don't King Karleon, don't Karleon. Because you have been telling us what pop culture is and why we have a role in it, and what the why it's bad for us, let's say. But I just want to ask Don if you can do a short recap, or perhaps Benji, just a Benji, to do a recap about what Dr. Shantella said. Just short, so people will understand. Yes, can you do that?
I think one of the most important things that Dr. Shantella said has to deal with that pop culture is popular culture, translates the power structure. Yeah, and through this power structure, they're trying to maintain their power, and they're trying to make sure that what is outside of the global white supremacy system is shown as different or not inside the norm, like negative, and within that power structure, you're going to see that the intelligent power, sexual power, economical power, I
Yes.
think that is what is the most important, that
Yeah.
it's trying to show you, and it doesn't have to be true. This is what a lot of us don't know. And I love when Dr. Shantella said deconstruct, because we are all thinking, this is what happens, this is how it is. And that's a very important message right there, because we are all thinking that, oh, it has been like this forever.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just find out that, really? Oh, so it was just like last week when they started?
Yeah. Good point.
So it's a very important point that we should all be aware of.
Yeah,
a lot of things, and it's also, what I really want to say is, a lot of it is also, I love to call this auto-hypnosis, that you are trying to say something, you are keep on saying something, and you're going to believe that. It's not true. It's just like somebody's in a relationship and this guy is beating on you, and yeah, but he's so sweet. He's going to love me. He's going to love me. And you just keep on saying that to yourself. But the relationship is not working, So this is what I'm trying to say. It's really important that we realize that this projection, what it is, this projection, they could be projecting a movie onto a screen, but the movie doesn't have to be true.
Real. Thank you for that. Thank you. That's really so in a nutshell, pop culture is, because this is true, this is the effect, and this is why it's there. Pop culture is on which platforms? Because now we know what it is, but we don't know what it is. So
yeah, I think she said, Sister Shantelle, she just
video,
broke it down.
film, and all that.
It's all encompassing. It's in everything. It's in the label on your bubble gum. Okay, that's how that Jerry say, it's in anything that you visually take in.
Okay,
and it's anything that's actually stimulating your senses. This is about identity formation. You understand? So it's literally, if I say, I grew up in a city where at the early 80s, there was a drug war that was going on here in DC. I kept seeing it in the news, but that wasn't my reality, and I live here. So I kept saying, where in DC is this happening? Because they keep saying that it's happening, but I don't see it. I'm in a community where most of my friends grew up in 2-family households. Their parents went to work every day. They were professional people. I had friends of all creeds and colors. No one was calling me the N-word. Everyone had, what they needed. And so it was just like, this thing that I'm seeing on TV is so foreign to me, I don't get it. And so we started talking about representation. So when you don't see yourself on platforms where you're constantly being told, everyone's watching these TV shows, you watch it, you can't find yourself. Or you see someone who looks like you, but they're always in handcuffs, or they're the prostitute, or they're the welfare mother, or it's something deviant or pathological in everything that they're doing. As a child watching this, something starts to happen. Okay. And so we deal with Mamie Clark, the Clarks, Kenneth and Mamie Clark, the husband and wife, child psychologists years ago, who talked about from 0 to 3, they had children who were about 4 or 5 years old, and they would hold up these 2 dolls. One was white and one was black, and ask, which one is the bad one? Which one is the ugly one? Which one is the, the criminal? which one is poor. Now, these kids have had very little contact with the outside world. And in the 1940s and 50s, when these tests were being done, very few Black people even had televisions in their homes. So this is through books. This is through newspapers. And so that's why I'm saying it's through ads. It's what these children are taking in. And if the children are taking it in, the adults are also taking it in. Okay.
Thank you.
And so you have to be, it's when you say, I love the fact Dr. Benji is like, yeah, it's you're not paying attention to the fact that you're being impacted by what it is that you see. You're ingesting these images the same way you would food. And the same way some foods will make you ill, watching some of these things has an impact on your blood pressure, your mental state, your heart, your body is not functioning. You're not sleeping at night. You know, so in the middle of everything, you're trying to self-medicate, not off of food, but off of the things that you're watching on television that you think are just hapless and random, and you're laughing when you should be crying. You're not feeling anything when you should be upset. And so you're not really having the type of emotional responses to things because you become desensitized to them. And so we have to be very, very careful with this.
If I understand you well, Dr. Shantella, means like the reality actually we as Black in communities we are living were actually created through this pop culture that were incorporated into our 5 cents while growing up. I mean,
well, this is the thing. It has the ability to impact what you believe about what it is that you see. It has the ability to make you disregard what you see as the truth in favor of what someone it's telling you is the truth. Okay. And so that's what I'm saying. It's a very, very dangerous type of program. You saw your parents get up and go to work every day. So when you start hearing Black bums, they're unemployed, they're all on welfare, that wasn't your reality, but you're starting to believe that somehow you're in a bubble and the rest of the Black society functions like this. So you start picking up these same stereotypes as if maybe I am the exception to these rules, but all of these other Black people out here are criminal, or they're this, or they're that. Also understand that part of what you do is you create things for yourself. And so that's been our saving grace all along. From the time you had Birth of a Nation, you also had Oscar Micheaux. You had Black directors and producers who were creating, alongside all of the lies, they were creating the truth. And so it's almost like the Matrix. You have a choice. Take the red pill or the blue pill. You can take the truth, or you can take what society is giving you over here. So you can see very clearly what the truth is. But if you choose to go over here with this, you do not have control of how you're being portrayed. And then we start getting into senseless types of arguments about, we don't like the way this was represented versus we could have done it this way. There's enough room out here for all of us. And if you have a cell phone today, you can make a movie. All right. One important thing just to add to this, I posted on Facebook, it's been several months. There's an actress named Denise Nicholas. And she talked about the fact that in 1976, she was concerned that too many Black people were accepting roles which did nothing for them. She said at one point, we were looking at each other and we were celebrating, brother, I love the way you got your hair, and I like, and Sister Benji, when you smile, it's radiating and da-da. So we knew what to accept and what was beautiful and amazing within the group. Yes. And so that's what we wanted to put on television. That's what we wanted to put in film. Instead, what we started doing was listening to what white people and other people said they wanted to see us do. And that became what we did. Okay. So if someone says, yeah, I want you to wear some bright colors and I want you to tell jokes, and everyone decided that's what's going to make the money. So I'm going to wear bright clothes and tell jokes. And we stopped doing what was intrinsically us. We stopped showing ourselves and started hiding behind all of these things that pop culture said they wanted to see. Then once we realized we could make money off of that, everyone ran this way instead of being our authentic selves, and really, capitalizing on that. You know, every now and again, I'll post a video. I just put one up the other day, and I don't really curse like that, but it was like, this is so effing beautiful. I don't even know what to do. It's a man at a gas station. He has the hula hoop. He's dancing with the hula hoop around his waist. And I can't tell if he's drunk, if he's high, if he's just happy. But I looked at it and I'm just like, oh my God, look at him. It's like the reckless abandon. He's happy. There's joy. And the music is making him dance. And every person that sees him stops. And they're videotaping it. Why? Because he is so authentic and he doesn't care who's watching him. We don't do that anymore. So you're not seeing these clear representations of us just being beautiful and magnificent in everyday basic types of things.
Because the question that remains to me is like, you know, like back in those 17 years, we went from afros to curly and just in a split of a second. I mean, how this could have been happen so fast, being from the area where, say, black and loud and proud, you know, Ali Rambo in the jungle. I mean, it was all all grace. How did that happen?
Well, you know, there's a joke that a lot of times we'll tell jokes in the middle of telling the truth. And so there's a scene from the film, since we're talking pop culture, there's a scene from the film, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, which is a parody type of film. But it said all the black people that were protesting the government and had their guns on their backs, they ran into the government buildings and they left out with jobs. And once you got a job, once you got the job with the folks, and they could tell you, okay, in order to make this money, your hair is unprofessional. So you need to straighten that hair. Or your skin is too dark, so you might want to lighten up a little bit. Or the dashiki brother, you can't keep wearing that. I'm gonna have to give you a suit and tie because it doesn't fit the element that you're in at this point. So you trade it out. And it's not, I'm not saying sell out, be real clear. You trade it out. All right. And so we talk about switching and putting on masks and taking off masks. And so we assimilate it to some extent where it's like, I'm going to go in and get your money, but then I'm still going to go back to my neighborhood and I pull this mask off and I put my dashiki back on. The problem is a lot of people in the community started to distrust you because they felt you couldn't have a foot in both worlds. You're either all over here with us or you're all over here. That's not necessarily logical, but it depends on, you know, what it is that you're going in for. So when we talk again, pop culture, it's all in the very, very successful Black people that you start to see. Do you question their authenticity as Black people? If you're looking at television and film and they keep posturing that professional Black people have somehow sold out, they can't be trusted, then that's what you start to hear from people, even if it's not true. You know?
Thank you. Dr. Shantella, Don, and Benji, a few household things. Mixing it up. Benji, could you please turn your screen a little bit to the bottom so we can, yes, beautiful. And Don, you're it's a little bit dark at your place, and it's also a little bit, but now your screen is down, it's better. But Don, you have to do something about the lighting. And then what?
I'm putting more light.
Is that it? Okay. I just want to say hi to the people who are checked in. That's Kemet Journey. Hi, Kemet. He says, I love it how Sister Benji explained things real talk. It's his first time he's joining us, so welcome. Nice to have you. He's also saying good evening. And of course, Ashe is also here. She's saying hi, blissful and rising family. And who else? Yeah, Henry. Do you remember Constant Henry from the last time? He's also here. Henry. And Nori El Jubari is also here. So hi. I think we're at the point now. There are no questions, so we can keep continuing. I think we're now did the stereotyping, and I think we are now at yes, better. That's much better. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Right.
Yes, I think we're at the point when we are going to discuss drilling. And why are we going to do? Not because it's popular, but because it's also part of pop culture.
And it's dangerous.
Exactly.
It's dangerous for our community. And I think that drilling, because like I said, we have been going through these kind of different what can I say? It's kind of gang related, territorium related kind of stuff. We've been going through that like in with the East Coast, West Coast, Biggie Smalls and Tupac, and all these different kind of, yeah. I wonder if I should call it directly gang related, but it has like a kind of gang swing to it, and it's all actually used to kill our young people. That's what's going on. So I wonder what your take is on that, Dr. Shantella.
The drilling, it's been, I think it takes on different manifestations. At one point, we did have a lot of gang related rap music.
Right.
And a lot of that, I'll point it to the West Coast. But a lot of it was gang related. A lot of it, spoke of violence and shootings and things like this. It took on a culture of its own. And I'll tell you that starting out, a lot of it was about being impoverished, being in South Central, dealing with the police. So a lot of the original point of some of that music was talking about shooting the police and defending yourself against the police officers. And very quickly, it kind of transformed into the rival gangs fighting with each other, or being given license to talk about just urban violence as a whole. Chicago is having similar issues right now, where there's just an amazing amount of violence, even in the middle of COVID and pandemic and quarantine. We're talking about a weekend where there are 200 or 300 shootings, and they're all young people, and they're all Black.
All Black, yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't seem to be a logical explanation behind it. I always feel like there's a bit more to it than to just simply say people are going out randomly shooting. There's something else that's going on. It's extremely dangerous in the sense that these are, a lot of times, these are kids from very natural, normal families. There is no overt violence around them, but the gang culture is such that either you're a target of the gang or you're in the gang.
Right.
Okay. And so you only have two options. And so
I heard about, I was checking that some time ago, and I heard that they actually, because of, how you call this thing again? They move in like different people into a neighborhood, so people have to move. And what they actually did is that they moved a lot of the families into another neighborhood in Chicago. So they were like strangers in that area. So they started to group together, and this is how a lot of the gang, they started to form gangs, and this is when they start to shoot up themselves. And I have to say, I've been in Chicago like 2 times, and like the area, like south side Chicago, and my friend that I was staying with, she's like, "You're not supposed to go there. I mean, that place is really dangerous, and they just shot somebody there the other day, And I was there, and I'm like, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great,
well,
So it's
yeah,
so
and
sad.
it's a weird vibe, and I think that sometimes right now, again, since we're talking pop culture, there's a television show called Shy, and it deals specifically with Chicago, South
Mhm.
Side Chicago. And so what you start to understand is, again, just like you're saying, there are people living and loving and going to school, and their families and their grandparents, and there's still family and faith, and there's stability in these spaces. But there
Right.
are there's these offshoots, these outliers, that where the violence takes place, and they're in pockets. A lot of it is driven by drug territory. All right. So if you've divided up a neighborhood and said, this area belongs to these people selling drugs, and this area belongs to these other people selling drugs, and then somehow they crisscross each other, there's no legitimate beef or argument between them, because the reality is, if you actually take a step back, none of this property is owned by anybody but the city. All right, so this is white people's property. This is the city's property.
Yeah.
And if they ever decide to literally knock it down and gentrify, that's what you're talking about. If they decide to gentrify and they knock all the buildings down and build condos there, you're going to just have to move someplace else. So you're killing people over space that does not belong to you. So like I said, if you pull back, but all of this is money driven, and it's literally, this is a place where I'm supposed to be selling. Then you said something and I felt disrespected me. And so what you're starting to see, I don't want to make this racial, because this is a very American thing. And all I always say is, when it was the cowboys, when it was the white boys doing this, and it was about the cowboys, and you had people shooting each other in the street, okay? It was about male bravado.
It is.
All right? It was about masculinity. It was about manhood. Now, I don't want anyone dying, trust me, but I want people to be able to put this into perspective, all right? When you had white boys that were doing this in the 40s and 50s, and they were race driving, they had their cars and they're driving back and forth and they're stabbing each other, we didn't talk about it like that, all right? And so it's like, you know what? Sometimes this is men with too much testosterone who need some outlets. I'm sorry. There are some women in the gangs, but I don't want to be sexist, but you know.
Yeah, by healing the community, right? Because actually now, because I may not call it depopulation, but we're running our men with testosterone, like we may call it, but on healing the communities, right? Because those youngsters, those entrepreneurs, they're using drugs money into the music, while the pop culture has been dominated by white old men who's taking control. So how could they manage, or what kind of tools could they use on money they be putting in?
Well, and again, just the business aspects of, like I said, I'm not trying to promote the drug trade by any stretch, but just the amount of entrepreneurial spirit. You wouldn't get up to sweep streets at 3 o'clock in the morning. But if you're a corner boy and you're selling drugs, you're up overnight looking for it. You're just sitting there. So you're on your grind, working, selling whatever it is that you're selling. You're in nightclubs, you're in private schools, you're 24 hours a day, you found someone who wants drugs. And so you're keeping record of this, not by pad and pencil, but in your mind. You understand what I'm saying? So when you start to look at just the amount of things that you have to know and understand and deal with as a business in this space, it's just like, can you just redirect this in a positive way? Can you redirect this? And again, when we're talking about that television series, The Shy, the belief is, the reason why you did this, in the drug culture is not new to Black America. We're not going to do that either, right? As long as the prohibition came, you had Black people selling alcohol under the table, making it boom, whatever. So, but was it this level of violence? Maybe, maybe not. The reality is, this is not new to us, but there was always something else that you did to kind of pull in. This always benefited the community in some way, shape, fashion, or form. And you said, we need people to go to college. All right. So everyone can't be in the gang. We need people to go to medical school, so that if someone is injured and you can't take them to the hospital, we can take care of ourselves. And then you build community centers where you can have mothers and babies have access to care. All right. You have people who have safe passage, so that they become the attorneys who fight the system that's locking you up when you let the white boy go for doing the exact same thing. All right. They can challenge the system. And so that is what's different now, the way I'm seeing it. Everyone wants to get in, everybody wants to be the corner boy. Everyone wants to make the quick money. And so you set aside any potential for someone else outside of a white cop, a white attorney, a white guard, some white person within the system to save you from things that you're in. And so that, to me, is the only difference. We've been having vice issues in this nation since day one. All right. So I don't want to blame it on that. The music has always been there. It was the devil's music. It was blues, and it was rock and roll at one point. Then it becomes rap, and some of the same things about sex and violence were in the blues and we're in the rock and roll music that are in the rap music now. So it's like, I don't want to put it on young people. This is not a young people's issue, and it's not a Black issue. All right. It impacts us differently. Absolutely, it impacts us differently, because we get caught in the net and we get stuck in the net. but there are ways of transitioning this out. And I commend you, because I think that with those rites of passage, with having some men that say, okay, your dad isn't there, but I'm your surrogate uncle, your big cousin, I'm your play big brother. I need you to not do this right now. We're going to have some delayed reactions and responses to things so that I can get you over that hump. It's necessary. And I think that's how you weed out pop culture and start dealing with today.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some things that you said that really made sense, because a lot of the young people that are involved in the drugs, you know, they, just like you said, these are people that they are brainiacs. They are, you know, they're economics. They know what they're doing. They know how to sell this or sell that. I mean, they could be having their business, which is a legal business, you know, and just like you said, this is something that I really want to make a point. You know, we living in the Netherlands. The Netherlands is renowned worldwide for their drugs, selling their drugs in World War I to France, England, cocaine, you know. So this is something that we should also look at, that, you know, this is something that they're trying to stick on us. Oh yeah, you're Black, so you must be in drugs, you know. But the realness is, and the real thing is that all of these so-called countries were involved in selling drugs. I mean, if you know that, for instance, United States made sure that their soldiers, when they were going to Vietnam, were using drugs so they could murder the people there. So I want people to really realize that it's a very, very universal thing. It's not just us, you know.
Yes. Thank
So
you. Because of the time, and we have a lot more to, but this was really clear. But still, can Don do a recap, a short, or does Benji, or you?
let Brother Don do it.
Thank you. That's it.
Well, actually, what Dr. Chantel actually said is like, it just basically that this is not a Black issue. This is not a young issue. It always has been this way into music, having those stereotypes, character, the sexism. It's always been there. And the only difference now is like it's impacting us differently as a Black community. So that we have to be aware of it, but it's always been part of the music culture either way.
Or the community. It's been part of every community because it's not a Black thing. It's a
It's not
masculine
it's a
or
Black thing, but it's
everything.
just
Yeah. Yeah. And we are talking about drilling. This was part was drilling, but the drilling has different shapes and forms. We know it as in different through the years. You could say that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I hope this is clear. I want to go to the community, of course, say what they have to say. I see that Queen Laga Nancy joined us. Hi, Nancy. Nice having you. And I see Lisa Mukandi Kanenga. I don't know.
Lisa Mukendi, but that's a Congolese name.
Yes.
Shout out to Lisa Mukendi. She's an artist in London.
Kazenga, Yanto of Vanto. That's, I mean, that's an
beautiful.
Thank you for joining us. And she says, interesting debate. So we're here. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments, and we'll be asking those questions to Dr. Chantel, of course, to Don or Sister Benji. So this means that we are halfway through. Empowering pop culture. This is where we are. Are then in this culture, pop culture, because we have been talking about what it is and that it's, dominating our world, and we can choose the red pill, blue pill, right? And that there's no new under the sun. It's repeating itself. So what are the positive films we can look at, and how do we recognize those? And what are the positive ads?
I think that if you, depending on where you are at any point, you can pick out things. I won't even really say positive, negative. I think that you can find lots of things that will impact you in a positive way, depending on what it is that you're watching. And sometimes it's something that we talked about, Attack the Block, for instance, the film where the little teenage guys, the alien crash lands into a council house estate in London, and the little black teenage guys get to be the heroes and save the block and fight the aliens and all of that. Well, you know, there was some scrutiny over the film initially because it was like, well, the kids are kind of bad guys, they're ruffians. And I said, okay, you can look at it that way, or you can say they're normal teenagers. They're absolutely average teenagers who do silly teenage things, but they get to be the heroes. And so I'm prepared to overlook some of this to get to other things. I doubt that you'll ever find a particular vehicle that suits your fancy from start to finish. There'll always be something in it, again, if you're deconstructing it, that'll make you take pause, unless it's something you create yourself. And so for me, that is always the big and amazing challenge. If we're talking about things that I'm watching right now, I'm doing some very basic types of things. The Shy, like I said, I get people sending me emails all the time telling me to take a peek at things. I did not want to watch The Shy, but I started watching it and I got into it, and I think that it's one of the best television series I've seen in a very long time. In addition to that drug gun culture that they're talking about, that for me is almost beside the point. It's kind of subversive underneath the actual theme. But there's certain things in it that I'm always looking for, like black male presence. And the black men, from the young boys up to the older men, there's certain themes that are running within it, and it's a drama. So it's not the black men falling over and making you laugh and all of this stuff. They say you will rarely find a black man on television who cries. You won't find things that are multidimensional, that show his character and that very humanity within him. It won't show. The Shy has picked that up, and they've literally, I found myself with boxes of Kleenex, just like, oh my God, okay. And for me, it was a beautiful thing, because there's shared moments, and there are things, again, and I won't give you too much of this, but there's a young kid who loses a parent. Oh. And he can't grieve. And so he's just walking around, kind of kicking at the world. And there's an older young man who's probably in his 30s. And he just shows up at his door, and he said, "You told me you could give me a haircut." And so he's like, yeah. So no one knows that this child's parent has died. And he sits him down and he starts cutting his hair. And he says, "Well, what have you been up to?" And he said, "My pop died." And he says, "I'm sorry to hear that." And he just puts his hand on his shoulder. And when he does, this kid starts crying it's that real grief. And as women, the first thing we would want to do is grab him and hold him. And he's going for it. He takes the towel and he's crying, and you're just like, oh my God. And okay, this man cutting his hair just puts his hand on top of his head and he's like, "Yeah, put your head down." He keeps cutting his hair. And the whole time he's sniffling, but he's still cutting his hair. And it was one of those moments where it's like, you don't show Black men bonding with children and showing compassion and showing love and telling him, he didn't say anything. The show basically goes off with that scene, with him sniffling and crying and bawling, and this man just turning his head, cutting his hair. And I thought, this is one of the most beautiful and powerful scenes you will ever see between Black men. And the fact that you have a child there and you have children watching this who will then start to understand it's okay to cry, and it's okay to grieve, and it's okay to, because they're seeing so much death around them with their friends who are involved in this gang stuff, that they forgot when they're supposed to cry and how they're supposed to get that emotion out. So it's one of those things where, okay, I'm always like, okay, Shy now goes to the top of the list, specifically because of that. And you start to see older men who are dealing with just life's challenges, who are talking to other older men. And it's not on a basketball court. It's not that stereotypical thing. They are literally sitting down in a mosque and saying, "I can see that something is troubling you, and you don't have to tell me what it is, and you don't have to come to Allah I just need you to know, brother, you got support here if you need it. And I'm going, thank you. Because our humanity is not being shown. And so that's why I said sometimes you'll see glimpses of it in different things. But usually the more popular the show is, the more rare it is to see that.
Yeah.
And so I know we'll have folks that you know, there are lots of vehicles for Black women. I was never a fan of How to Get Away with Murder or Scandal or any of that. It was just like, I need to see something where the humanity in these women overtakes this other thing about being boss and wearing the Louboutin shoes and the purses and looking badass and getting it. I don't want to see that. I'm living in DC. Capitol Hill is here. I see sisters like that all day long. Can you show me, you know, this woman showing her emotions? Because I don't like the strong Black woman trope, because strength, if you say resilience, I'm okay. But strength is really, for me, a very masculine space. And when you start taking the femininity out of women as popular, then she doesn't get to cry. And she doesn't get to have doors held open for her. And you don't see her getting rescued. All right. So, you know, I'm a fan of Django Unchained. If you can give me 20 more films like that, I want to see the sister rescued. All right. I want the brother to ride to the rescue. I'm still on that. I think that, again, because this is America, that's right. This is America. And I think that when you start, if this were Liam Neeson in one of these ridiculous films he does, where he can hear a foreign man in another country kidnap his daughter from underneath the bed in France, and he's in America, and he says, I'm coming to get you to get my daughter back. Everyone in the theater is like, he's going to get her. He's going to get his daughter back. I'm sitting there like, what kind of BS is this? All right. But you believe, because you've been taught, that white man is going to go get his kid, and he's going to save the day, and he's going to get his wife back, and he's going to do like, you know, Bruce Willis and scale to the top of the building and stuff is blowing up. He has no shoe. Right. He's going to save, because it's a part of manhood and masculinity. Instead, you're going to have the brother played by Chris Tucker, somebody herky-jerky, laughing, joking, trying to have some sex over here, slipping and falling. Someone else is going to have to help him save the day. And so that's why I said Django Unchained. It was like, not only do you go back and get the sister, but then you get on the horse and let the horse do a little dance going out the door. I'm done. All right. Can I get 50 more like that? And it's not a popular thing to say these days, for me to say, I want you to save me. I'm gonna sit right here, and I know, you know, you got these little white girls that say, my daddy said he coming to get me. I can sit back here and eat popcorn. I'm not even fearful because my daddy said he's coming. Show me a film that you've seen or a television series where the Black man rides in and gets his kid, gets his wife. Nah, you got sister out there. I'm going to fight alongside you. I'm going to break out and do it myself. No, I don't want that. All right. And so that's why I said, depending on what your take is, some things that I find, you know, offensive in pop culture, you may say, I'm okay because at least the sister isn't a maid. At least she isn't, you know, being a stripper. You know, each person has their own litmus test. For me, it's like whatever tropes you given over as masculinity. I want to see Black men rising. I want to see Black men in prayer. I want to see Black men devoted. I want to see them trustworthy and honest. And so any film, anybody that says, okay, you need to check that out, I'll go into it and look at it just to kind of see if it's hitting those marks for me. So if you're asking me for an actual list, sometimes it's like, not really sure, you know, if you're going to like my list, but those are the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for kids being seen as children, as innocent, as little people who need to be protected and let them do silly things. I do not like, I think you sent me this thing about cuties, some TV ad, some movie ad about,
You know, Dr. Chantel, listening to you right now, I'm having that vision, right? It's like, I might be wrong, but it's like if pop culture is aimed to the demasculinization of the Black man. So if I'm looking at it that way, and I'm looking to two of the biggest Black stars ever in pop culture, you know,
it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Ooh.
No, like they less masculine than James Brown or Marvin Gaye. Like I mean, they are two of the greatest black artists in pop culture.
Yes. Yes. Well, and then again, it becomes
Whoa.
what are you and that's why I said we can do TV and we can do video and we can do film and all of that, but you can also see it in the music. And so what's being said, what's being said, how are men portraying themselves? Are you talking about, again, loving and protecting the community? You had a whole series of songs that Marvin Gaye, Teddy Pendergrass did. Yeah, they did love songs, but they also did a number of songs, Stevie Wonder even, a number of songs that were about this is who we are and this is how we love things and superstition and all of it's right there. And that's what made them great. Okay. Right. And they weren't talking about, excuse the term, banging women, breaking people's backs. Okay. It was like, this sounds violent. That doesn't even sound sexual. That sounds violent. Like, why would you? And like I said, I'm this new WAP song. It was like, okay, I won't even touch it. All right. If that's what people are, stay there with it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. I'm not even going there with that. For me, stripper culture has become pop culture.
Right.
And that does not benefit anyone outside of a bedroom. All right. So you get the cuties and they twerking. What are they twerking to? These are songs that were specifically made for strip clubs.
Yes. Yeah.
So now you have 11-year-olds bumping and grinding to songs that even adults are literally like, I don't even want anybody to know that I've listened to this, let alone been in a space like this. Right. It's like, that's very personal and very private. You have 11-year-olds dancing to this. And then just the posturing. Come on, it's too much.
Can I ask you? I'm trying to get into the mindset of the parents that let their children work in a film like this. I'm really?
What was curious to me, Sister Benji, was I actually looked up the film, and then when I saw the clip from the film, I was thinking, okay, the advertising in the film don't necessarily sync. At the same time, right? Because this is a Muslim woman whose daughter, right? All of a sudden, she's in an immigrant. They're immigrants in another space, and they see these young girls out there twerking, and her daughter decides this is something she wants to rebel against, not just her family but her faith, to go join a twerk ensemble. For me, it was just kind of foolish, but they're saying that it's based off of a true story.
I believe
and that. So, my thing was, I want to find out from the director or from the writer how much truth is in this and how much fiction is in it. Because, I don't play with people's faith. And if your faith as an 11-year-old Muslim girl tells you don't, then you don't. Mm-hmm. And if your parents, it's one scene where the mother gets behind her, and I'm thinking, if her mother doesn't kill her, then the movie really should be over right here. But it's like, all right, I'm not even sure how far this will go. But if Hollywood takes it, Hollywood will bend and manipulate things in order to make it a vehicle for that child. And then you'll have 11-year-olds who feel like it's okay to rebel against their parents because their parents are wrong and are closed-minded. And so that again is one of the dangers of pop culture that truly gets to me. It's not about adults. It's about young people being in control. I wouldn't give an 11-year-old the keys to my car and tell them, come pick me up. All right. So why would I give them the remote control?
Right.
And that's, for me, it's just as dangerous because where we used to have blocks on certain things, you can now access pornography straight through your computer. It doesn't have a block on it. You can now access, and I'm not talking about somebody, just trying to strip off or doing something silly. I'm talking about full-blown pornography straight through your computer. And it's like, okay, there are no blocks on here. And then what could be a block, the kids know more about the technology than we do in many instances. So, but what happened in America, the FCC, which says you can't curse on the radio. There's certain words you can't say on television. There's certain things that you can't show on television. All of that's gone out the window because now The 10 and 11-year-olds are consumers. And if I can get their money by making them think that this is something that's popular and everyone else has it, it will drive you crazy as a parent, telling you everybody else has it and I don't have it. And now I don't have it. And you feel obliged to try and give them things because everyone else has it, not understanding that they are now in control of your money. All right. And if it's your money that pop culture is feeding pop culture, you will lose your kids and your money for the sake of their popularity. And it's simply not worth it.
Right.
It's there's some things that I want to react to. You said a lot of the young children they can access certain information on their phones, which is very dangerous for them. And I actually saw it in my class one day when I heard this. One of my pupils talking about how they were talking about sex with dead people, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You know? Yeah. I saw it on my phone. I said, look. I said, let me tell you something. This is not for you, okay? Because on the same level, these children are challenging them one another to go deeper. And when they go deeper, it's like they're getting pulled in, they're getting pulled in. And that's why I really see that a lot of children are getting confused, like there's this, at the moment you got a lot of children, I don't know whether I'm a boy or a girl, things like that. Because these are things that are very much pushed into the communities, and a lot of I mean, we have the drilling, but it's also the materialism that is also getting to a lot of the children. They need to get that new phone, they need to get those new kicks, they need to get that. It's so terrible.
Yeah.
I
have to interrupt a little bit, and that's also pop culture. The last point you made is also pop culture. I want to interrupt and say that Queen Laga, and that's Nancy, of course, says web card. I don't know what it is. Web card B, Megan 3 Stallone. Does that say anything to you?
Oh, like she said, like we should talk about Cardi B and
Cardi B, yeah.
Well, they're part of the
stripper, yeah.
Music industry, pop culture expert. Yeah, we could talk about it, but Dr. Shantella already put it in context. We can't give them so much shine. They're already all over the area, so.
Yeah, just, my thing is this, is anytime you have to put the initials of a song, of the words to a song, because it's that vulgar, or it's not something that the average person would have in general conversation. So I've had at least 2 or 3 video conversations where we start trying to have this conversation, and I have to look around. It's like, is my mother anywhere near me right now? Because it's like, I can't do this. But WAP, you're talking about a vagina, okay? And I just, if that's the title of the song, then you must understand that the lyrics are even that much more vulgar, all right? And so, it's just, again, the fact that this is the #1 top selling trending thing, and then they added the video and all. I got through the first 30 seconds of the video, and it was like, okay, I'm not doing this. I can't expose myself. I'm 50 years old. I can't expose my own mind to this, all right? And this is the thing. You think that this is something that you're just watching and then that's it. But what I'm saying is this is impacting your mind, and you can't do that. It's also impacting your spirit. And so you think you have control of it, but it has control of you. So it's literally like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yeah. So when I got to these women, just the outside video with the statue going around, and it's water shooting out of the nipples of the women. It was like, okay, just, I'm done.
And the
All right.
chorus as well. They're using all those secret science just to hypnotize his brains and
Right. And you just steady watching it and listening to the beat, listening to the beat, listening to the beat. And, you know, years ago, someone said, if you put it in a book, Black people won't read it. You can put all types of, put the truth right in a book, they won't read it. Now it's, I can change your mind just by putting that beat behind it. I'm letting you just hum along and sing all types of garbage because I got that beat. And as long as it's the beat, you just dancing to it and you having a good time and you're partying and you sweating with it. But you haven't heard any of these lyrics and you don't even know what that beat is doing to you right now. It's keeping you from hearing the lyrics. All right. And so I just said, all right, I want young women to have a certain level of self-respect. What you do in the privacy of your own bedroom is your own business. So that's some music for the top shelf. All right. In your own private space, you can pull that down and you can work it out. I don't want to hear this on the radio. I don't want to see the video. And I don't want the average young person exposed to this just by happenstance, because it's way too much to try and explain. And it's like, if I have to explain it to you, it's not for you. All right. How about that? I don't think it's fair. No?
Yeah, good
you know,
point.
from African spirituality perspective, sexuality is a sacred science as well. You know, it's the power of creation. So now that I understand, because I was not aware of that power of pop culture into the demasculinization of the Black male, but also the destruction of the family. I was just aware about religion was doing actually, but looking on that way, on that matter into pop culture, I'm like, whoa. I mean, religion did a lot of damages, but pop culture, for those who wasn't, you know, for those who weren't into religion, they got cut into pop culture. That's the, you know, the blue or the red pill. Like now we got the blue and the green.
They call this how they say that you jump. Peter Tosh got a song, and you jump out of the frying pan into the fire or something like that.
Yep,
and,
that's it.
And I looked at this movie the other day. I'm a total D'Angelo fan. Okay, I love D'Angelo to my heart. And there was this documentary about him, that he been raised in the church. And you know, I heard you say this, that the devil's music, and he actually start making popular music. And but in his heart, he was fighting with it. In his heart, he was feeling that he was not singing the Lord's song. He was singing the devil's song. And it almost got him killed. That's why I think he had like a 14-year hiatus before he made another song. He almost died. He got a car accident. You know, there's so much thing that happened to him. And this is what happened to a lot of our artists. He said it in the documentary. He said a lot of us are, firstly, they are fighting with, because they've been brought up in the church, and they are making this devil's music. Then again, you got people that are, they see that their friends, they're in jail or they die, you know, and they feel kind of guilty because they're making it. So you see that a lot of the artists, they are being eaten up by guilt. That's why they will get up into drugs or other self-destructing actions, you know. So it's really, it's like a catch-22. Remember when they were saying all this, and we like, it's not catch-22, it's catch-2020. That's what I see. For real.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at sometimes, you know, there's a way of connecting the two. Music in and of itself, you know, if you're spiritual people, you understand that your faith is in the design of the clothes that you wear. You know, it's in the music. All right. And so you understand for people who are truly not religious, but spiritual. I could see where he would have that conflict. And you have people years ago, Ray Charles went through this. Marvin Gaye went through it. And then you have people, right. There's an artist now, and his name is going to escape me just because I'm trying to look for it. But He's a jazz singer. He's a jazz musician.
Oh,
And
Gregory.
Gregory Porter. There you go. You got
Yeah,
you knew exactly what. Thank you, Gregory
yeah.
Porter. And he found a way of combining the two, and he makes it clear. You know, he's using those drums or those instruments in certain ways where it's like spiritually, this is hitting you a different way. This is the Nina Simone. You got me. This is, and I always say, if you want something that's haunting that gets to your bones, and I said there are a couple of songs you put on Wild as the Wind, I could be in a party. If you put that on, I'm going in the corner somewhere to cry for a minute. It's like it has that type of a visceral reaction every time I hear it. And so it's like the music was meant to do something other than simply entertain you. All right. So I can understand him saying that. But when it becomes a business, and when we're not in control of the business aspects of this. So when you have someone telling you that's 25 years old who looks nothing like you, that you need to lose weight, change this, add some extra hair, push your breasts up. D'Angelo, you need to take your shirt off. You need to strip down and do a video completely naked. You know, he could have done that video in a turtleneck and we still would have been like, I love this. Right. So so what are you going to tell the man who made the music what's going to make it sell? So that tells me you don't know the man and you don't know the music. Since we don't have control over it. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's when you deconstruct it, when you pull it apart, you start to understand it's not the music, it's not the artist, it's the people controlling what it is that he's doing.
They do this.
That's right. That's right. And if he were doing this music and selling it out of the trunk of his car, we would still feel it just the same. He would hit his mark, but they wouldn't make their money.
They would make money. And this is a very important point to make, and because I don't know who said this. I was listening to somebody and they said, we as Africans, whether it's in America, whether it's in England, whether even here in Holland, we create in all these jobs. We create in this music, and there's these guys leaning in the back of the chair, and they the A&R, and they the director, and they the this and the that, and you know, and there's these copies. There are these copies because I mean, if you were looking at soul music, you're looking at R&B music. Like when I was growing up, you would see somebody looking like me, but right now you got people. Oh, I didn't know it was him singing that song, you know. So we got all these people that's feeding off us of our energy, and they're making all this money, and in the end, they're controlling all of this because, just like you said, I mean, in the I think in the 90s when you had all rap groups like Public Enemy and KRS-One and conscious
developments. Yeah, how we went from that area to. I mean, this is a good question. Sorry that I to interrupt you, sister.
Oh, no problem,
Dr. Shantella. From your point of view, how could we manage to regain control of our culture? And
it's something, you know what? It's something as basic as I grew up here in DC where we have a homegrown music called go-go. Mm-hmm. All right. Go-go isn't popular to anybody but the folks in DC. There's a few people in New York and pockets in Pennsylvania and places like that. They get it, they love it. Okay. The reason why go-go didn't go left, it didn't become popular is because the people in DC said, this is ours. All right. We will sell it off the back of the bus. We will sell it from our book bags before we turn it over to these powers that be. All right. And because of that, you have legendary bands, go-go bands that have been around now for 30, 40, 50 years. Okay. They aren't trying to make an extreme amount of money right off the bat. What they're trying to do is become household names. And so it's on the t-shirts, it's on our license plates now. DC, home of go-go music, home of go-go music. And it's an African percussion. I don't care what the song is. They add an African percussion and some other drum beats to this. And they pull it all together. So I don't care what the song is. They take other people's songs and recreate them, or they create their own. It's a very African inspired space. And once it started to become popular, you had all of these white jazz musicians that came in. You had a series called Jazzmatazz back in the 90s, heard that sound and was like, oh, we can Jazzmatazz.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Guru
We can fuse it.
Gangsta made two
Gangsta,
Yeah.
songs about it.
Gangstar, right. You can mix it all together. You had different folks that came in and said, it's that sound. But every time they said, let this record label get a hold of it, it's like, no, this is DC homegrown. Unless you're going to use a DC label, and they're 2 or 3, we don't want any part of it. It's not, you have to determine, are you going to be about the artistry or are you going to be about the money? And sometimes you can be about both. All right. But this is, again, this is a Nina Simone thing. This is this is Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee back in the day saying, that's right. If we're not going to strip down and sell ourselves out in order to make money. We'd rather not work for the next 10 years. All right. Or we're going to go in the basement of a library and create scripts. And we're going to do little plays, and we're going to be so popular that when the line is around the block, and Broadway will say, we'll give you a few dates on Broadway until they started becoming films. Okay. And so it's not out of our possession. It's not out of our power to do it. It's just us thinking that it can't be done. We're thinking, I need to get a theater first, and I need to get money first. And it's like, you just need to get the work. All right. And again, we have cell phones where you can shoot an entire film on your phone. So you don't need access to anything except battery power. That's it. And some people who come on. So it's stop creating boundaries where there are none and just do it. And we're starting to see we've had 2 or 3 folks who've been successful, with video series. They set the camera up or the video screen up and did it in their bedrooms or in their living rooms. And they got so popular with it that Awkward Black Girl, there's a whole series that turned into a film and turned into a TV series. HBO is running. It's called Insecure. All right. One Black female decided to do this from the privacy of her own home. It's now a major, I think it's been on now 4 seasons. All right. So she's doing just fine. Michaela Cole, who's there in London. All right. Started out with a very basic series and some things she was doing at home. It turns into a TV series, Chewing Gum, which then launches her into 5 or 6 other films. And now she has a series that's running on Showtime or Cinemax here. But this was something, again, done with the cell phone. All right. So you don't need the equipment.
Yeah, I need to break in again. We still have like 30 minutes left. So we're good. We're very good. Just a short recap for the last phrase, what we were talking about, the empowerment. How can we be empowered? How can we just flip this pop culture into something that will not tear us down or denigrate us, but how
in the community?
Yes. Do you want to do that, Don, please?
From what Dr. Shantella has spoken?
Yes, please.
But I mean, the whole recap is just do it. Just do it. I mean, you don't have to be signed. You don't have to go to the majors. You don't have to be, I mean, you have to start somewhere to get somewhere, and just stick to your originality, stick to your principle. Don't run out for money. Stick to your creativity. Make actually music that feed your souls and the soul of others. Just do it.
Like you're doing.
Well, I'm trying. I mean, I've been stalking DJs all over the earth, telling them, send me your emails, I'll send you music. But they're like, yeah, but we didn't see you on MTV, so your music is wet. This is what you're getting as an artist, As long as they don't see you on MTV or any other major pop radio, and I'm not much of effeminated, masculine Black male, so I won't sell either. So it's kind of hard. Right. I mean, I've been knowing a lot of artists, creative artists. They're trying to do the best into what they are, but as long that they are not into major radio or channels that in the brain and the mind of the people is popular, nobody's taking them serious while they're making music from the soul and from the heart and their creativity.
But you know something, Don, right now you got a lot of artists, even like known artists, that use different channels, like, for instance, like TikTok, to get their music across. And like, for instance, I know that Shaggy from Jamaica made a song, and he featured it on TikTok. And what happened is that it blew up so much that MTV had to get the video and put it on their channel. So this is something that Sister I always said. She said, we got the cell phone. And I hear Sister Shantella, Dr. Shantella says the same thing. You know, we got the internet, and with the internet, you can pressure these big institutions to do your thing, you know, do it for you. You know, they have to come after you. You don't have to run after them.
Yeah, true that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, still you need some magic there, and you need to have a plan, of course, and a concept. But there's the possibilities are there more than there were like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that was a really good recap. That was a really entering the last phase. We still have like 20 minutes to go. And I actually want to ask Dawn, because you mentioned the spirituality part of the pop culture, the spirituality part of, and you said, okay, now I understand what pop culture is. On the one hand, we had like religion, but the other hand, so could you explain why you said that, please? And
well, from what Dr. Chantel was explaining, so I had that vision. I was like, okay, it's all clear, seemed clear to me, like, you know, the demasculinization of a Black male, I mean, has been powered into pop culture as well. And then when I look at it and I look at the two most best famous Black artists in history, they are a lot feminated, you know, just to put it in a context. So it came back to me like, oh, hold on a second, you know, it's not just on the spiritual level we're fighting about religion, about our own identity, but also on the mental level about the not the poison actually who's been sending to us generation to generation, and being at the states where we are now and trying to redefine and refine ourselves. We are battling actually at many levels, you know. So it's clear to me. I did not look at that way earlier, but thanks to Dr. Chantel, it just came clear to me like, okay. And I even was inspired, you know, like in one of my next videos, I'm going to shoot a movie about a Black that's saving his daughters, you know. But while he was explaining to us, you know, I was doing myself because I'm a father of 2 young daughters, you know, but it took me a lot of work to put myself into that position that they could, you know, not accept daddy as a hero, but seeing me as a hero when they are, you know, when they're getting into troubles. But I was not aware about the struggle I was getting to, that televisions and all the channels, they were poisoning the mind about me not being able to play that role.
Because there is no Black male hero. He always loses one way or another. You know what I want to do quick before we go to the last phase or the last part of this session is I want to mention a few films, and I hope you also have a few films and you respond quick. Okay. Remember the film we went to, Benji? Slim and
Slim. Queen and Slim.
Short.
Okay.
2 sentences.
Queen and Slim, you know, I had to pass on it, and I'm gonna tell you why. You know, spoilers. They lose in the end. It's like, look, this is something very basic. The police are looking for a couple.
You're gonna spoil
Two
it?
idiots wouldn't know to separate and go in 2 different directions. It was like this film is bothering me because they seem like they silly. Just why would you stay together if you know that they're looking for a couple? But take the braids out your hair, go that way, you go that way, and nobody even knows that you're together. And then to go through all of that, but you lose. So it was just like, nah, that wasn't worth the 2 hours. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Very, very disappointing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another one, quick one. The video from Beyonce, Black is King. Quick response, please.
You know, I'm passing on that as well. Just listen, let me explain something to you. If you're going to deal with spirituality, you deal with spirituality. I think that you can have the sacred and the secular in the same space But when you start to make money off of this and it's not explained properly, basically what you're doing is you're propping up whatever foolishness that you're doing over here with some spirituality that you don't understand because it's nothing to play with, and that you're inviting other people to play with. And so I can't abide in that. Won't do it.
Hey, thank you. Do we have another one? You mentioned Django Unchained, but could you please, just for the people who are just joining us,
Django Unchained, always at the top of the list. Again, anytime you have a Black man who, in the midst of slavery, enslavement, is going to save the day and rescue this Black woman across different state lines, and you see the seasons change. All right, so he's still looking for. That was a long haul and a long battle to get to her, and he saves the day and he wins in the end. So that's always at the top of the list. Always a great film.
Black Panther.
Black Panther, I love the things that it attempted to do. There were certain things I wasn't necessarily sold on, but I get it. I think that it could have, if it turned into a series, television series, where they could work out some of the nuances, I would be okay with it. So if I had to do a strict rating, like a A through F, I put it in that B+ area. All right. I think it was definitely worth it just to see the science and to continuously make the point within the film that people tend to look at Africa and Africans based upon what they've seen in pop culture, and something sitting right in front of you. You can't make it out because you've already dismissed the people.
Right.
All right. So all that beauty, all that ingenuity, all that innovation is right in front of you. And the white people in the film just keep saying, it can't be them.
Yeah, I love
That's
that.
a reality.
Yeah, I love. But you know something, Sister Dr. Shantella, that reminds me of Kemet. It can't be them. It have to be some alien who did that.
Stargate the other day was like, okay, here come the aliens again. All right,
the alien.
Maybe the Africans.
It's the same when they found the statues in Ife in Nigeria. Oh no, it's not them. No, couldn't be.
Well, and it dismisses that type of spirituality where people said we used to be able to fly until someone told us that we couldn't. All right. Right. So how did the bricks get that way? It had to have been an alien that brought it down. Yeah. Or it could have been the brother who levitated it up there and put it in place. All right, but we won't talk about that.
I have to continue, please. The Underground Railroad.
Is it the television series Underground?
No. What's the name again? It's from the Underground Railroad. The film is actually
Harriet Tubman.
Oh, the Harriet Tubman film.
Yeah, that's one.
I gave it, if I had to give it a letter grade, maybe about a C. I wasn't, as a historian, there were certain things that I had issue with, once again. And either you're going to do a documentary, that works for me. When you try and dramatize things, it becomes problematic. Harriet Tubman gave a bit of an autobiography. She gave notes, did several interviews before she died. So if the notes from those interviews have been used to create the dialogue, I may have even gone with this. But what you're doing is using 2018, 19, 2020 sensibilities to recreate dialogue that did not exist then. And that for me is problematic because you're giving Black women agency they didn't necessarily have, but you're also setting up a parameter where you're trying to make something historical that simply wasn't. I don't know what conversation she had with her husband. I don't know. So it's like, this is weird. You're making me feel like I'm breaching into this woman's privacy, and I don't know that these things happen, but you're making it seem as though these were things that were necessary to the storyline. Mm-hmm. So can you just tell me what happened? So my thing is, do a documentary. If you're not going to use actual documents from this woman, her oral trend, the things that she said orally, her histories, the narratives that she gave, then don't try and recreate it. Hollywood is not good with that. They're horrible.
Okay, thank you very much for that. It gives us some insight. So not because it's a Black film, it's not culture in it, and history is really important to. Let's see what the audience is saying, or if they are just really, really so
Well, I might reach out to all the DJs out there, to all the fans of Queen Bee out there. Don't get me wrong, you know, I love Dr. Shantella. Just keep sharing my works, you know. Don't get mad.
It's all right. It's
You know,
okay.
spirituality is sacred and pop culture is something else. And you already got the definition of pop culture. That's the reason why it can be mangled African spirituality and pop culture, because pop culture is aimed to destroy our identity, so you can use our spirituality to lift up the weapon that's used to kill
Against
us.
Beautiful.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Because
Yeah.
that's the main reason.
That's it. Thank you.
That's it.
Don. Rashida Kauna, hi there. She's saying Beyonce is sitting on Disney's pedophile channel, so of course it's not a good thing. I think that's what she's trying to say. And there was also another, the new series from. There was another question. I lost it. Another question was the new series of Jamie Foxx. What do you think of that?
Oh, I saw it 2 days ago, 3 or 3 days ago. It's not, it's a film, right? It was on
Film? I'm
Netflix.
trying to get to the question, but I can't
Netflix.
find it. Do you know that one, Dr. Shantella? No.
No, I haven't seen it.
Actually, he used that matter. He went to save his daughter. I really love that movie.
Okay.
He went to save his daughter, and he went into, they had to use some pills, you know, green and blue one, and green one and blue
Okay.
one. But
Haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he saved her till the end, but he has to use some pills. So that was, you know, I was expecting, you know, actually, now that we're talking about it, the only science fiction movie I felt so great about it was Blade, because Wesley Snipes was in it. But they managed even the most masculine black actor in history not having any child, or even a child to save.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and again, I talk about sometimes the TV series Luther. Okay. So you get Idris Elba, and he has the look. And you're like, all right, we're in here. But he becomes what's known as an outlier. He becomes an exception to the rule. So Luther, the show's on 4 seasons. He doesn't have a single black cousin. He don't have no black friends. He don't have a black girlfriend.
Yeah.
He has no black neighbors. The 2 black women in the series that they threw on there, one was so ridiculous. Maybe 3 seconds after she got on the show, somebody was like, well, can you shoot her? Just get her out of the way. I mean, she literally came in to disrupt him. She was antagonistic with him from the moment she got on the set. The second black chick, you know, she was just like a deer caught in the headlights. And there's a spoiler, so turn your volume down if you don't want to hear this. She gets shot in the head just unceremoniously. She's standing there having a conversation with him. Some crazy woman comes up, shoots her in the head, and she hits the ground. It was like, what the blood? So when you're talking about, I need to see a black family. I need to see black community that's working. I need to see black people who aren't pathological. You get Idris Elba, who is mentally just off the scales. He's this different type of intellectual who's solving crimes. And you think, okay, this is brilliant. Can you give him a black woman somewhere? And if you can't give him a black woman, can he have a mama or an aunt or a sister or some black female that can carry some of the weight? Can you see him with a black niece or nephew? He has no family to speak of. So he belongs to the white people.
You know,
so I love the character. I love the role. He doesn't belong to us in this.
Dr. Shantella, this is something that I'm always seeing this. If I'm watching advertisements here in Holland, there's always a black man with a white woman, or a white man with a black woman. And you know, I was thinking to myself, as I was talking to Sister I said, you know, maybe we should do something like we're gonna give like a prize or something to a Dutch company who has the balls to put a black family on TV. For real, I'm not joking.
And it needs to be an award for it. I mean, and the whole thing is, like I said, I know I'm not supposed to get.
Oh my God.
Right. You know? I'm not supposed to get on the eugenic construct here. I'm not going to do that. I promise you. But the reality of it is, anytime you show a black family, you're talking about black reproduction. If you're talking about black reproduction, and you're talking about white supremacy here, you know, and yeah, so you're dueling that out. And so what you want to keep showing Black people is that you're successful and you're happy and you're in a family unit and you're with someone who doesn't look like you. And so those children will eventually fall somewhere in between those spaces, but they will be treated differently than the darker of those parents. And then you can kind of set that parent aside. So especially if it's a white father with a Black mother, all right? Because in Holland, I would suppose, just like in most places, you know, that father, if he's being apart, then he's gonna make sure that child is going to school and the child is gonna get certain privileges, certain currency based upon that white parent. If it's the white mother, then it's the exact same thing, but it's like, okay, you have agency and you have license that a child that has two Black parents won't have in this space. And so you're promoting a particular type of ideal in pop culture.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Right.
And you know, is it possible? Can I just talk about one advertisement?
One advertisement, just the last two
right.
Questions, and then we go to you, and then I think we're about the time.
Yes.
So just they're asking about Project Power. I don't know that. And issue Issa Rae. No?
Oh, Issa Rae? Okay.
Yeah,
Issa Rae, I don't know the project piece, but Issa
Power
Rae,
is that movie, is that TV series produced by 50 Cent. The Power.
what's the name of it?
Power.
Oh, Power.
Power, yeah.
Power.
Okay.
Oh, I think
Okay.
He made a okay. He made a
Okay. If it's Power,
no
against everything that I actually like and believe in, Power I actually watched, and I watched all 5 or 6, you know, seasons of this, but it wasn't ironically for the Black characters. I was trained on the white male character who believed he was Black.
Yeah.
All right. So Tommy, right? It was just like Tommy, because right, and I want you to always understand, when you get a white male character who is Blacker than the Blackest characters in his deportment and how I just kept saying, this guy is so off the chain. I'm just curious about, they're going to make him do the very stereotypical thing to keep me off of them if it was one of the Black characters that did it. You understand what I mean by that? If one of the Black characters performed the way Tommy was performing, I would be in there saying, you're stereotyping these brothers and da-da-da-da-da-da. What they did was they put all of that viciousness, they put all of that pathology into this white boy, all right? And because they did it, it made the average Black person literally go in like, oh my God, this guy is off the chain. So you're laughing at him half the time. And so at some point, Power did this thing and it said, are you team Tommy or are you team Ghost? Because the white character, lead white character, and lead Black character are fighting against each other now, all right? And they consider themselves to be brothers, all right? So you either got the white boy or you got the Black guy. Everybody's going, Ghost looks good, and I said, no, it's Tommy, because he's Blacker. This is the Blackest white guy I've ever come across. He's stereotypically Black in a white body. And so for me, sometimes be careful. If you see a television show and there are no Black characters on it at all, but it's supposed to be an urban show, it's supposed to be something that's popularized to Black people, you're going to find certain characters on there that demonstrate quote unquote Blackness. And when you study Tommy, if you truly look at that character from start to finish, that's the reason why when you get to the final end, the final series, and the show is over, Tommy comes out on top. All right, he gets to win, and all of that foolishness, Tommy gets to win, and he gets to ride off into the sunset. And when they did that, I just thought, God dog it, they did it again. But that was the whole point. I kept saying this white boy should have been shot 100 times and killed, based on the fact that he's a white boy in the middle of a Black and Spanish people rivaling, Cuban, all this. It's like the white boy survives, he gets to ride off into the sunset in a convertible. And I just thought, Hollywood said it again. Issa Rae is the young lady who did the TV show that I was talking about, Insecure. Started out as Awkward Black Girl. And it was a video series that was done using the phone. And it became so popular on YouTube or whatever else that the Awkward Black Girl turned into the TV series Insecure. So Issa Rae is always at the top of my list. Anything that she's doing, I commend her for it, because again, You're trying to show a nerdy Black girl. You're showing these Black women that aren't naturally and normally in the psyche or the minds of Hollywood. All right. And so you find her doing just average nerdy type of Black girl things. And it's refreshing to see, just because she's not yelling, she's not screaming, she's not fighting. She loves Black men. She's showing her relationship struggles, but it's nothing where she's denigrating Black men. And she still believes in love and fantasy and all of this. So always a thumbs up to Issa Rae.
Okay.
Thank you. A few comments back. The question was from Kemmer Journey, and he said that I love Dr. Shantella. She's fair. And he also said, but I think this is before you start explaining why you didn't like the one from 50 Cent, that in Project Power, that they kidnapped the daughter and he's going to get her. But you already explained why you didn't like it that much. And Queen Laga, that's Nancy, saying, I can see a lot of conscious new artists are independent artists. So that's a good thing. That's for you, Don, I think also. And I think that was it for now. Thank you for your question. So now to Sister Benji's comment. You want to say
something? I just wanted to talk quickly about this advertisement that's on. It's by Ben. I don't know if you have seen it. And you know that when people are playing Twister, there's this white guy sitting on the couch. He got the phone in his hand. He's a white. He has a Black spouse. They have children, and they all tangled up in the Twister. But he's on his phone playing whatever. And at a certain point, his wife said, "Ah," and he's, oh, I'm sorry, And I'm like, that is such a. It's so insulting, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's, oh my gosh. When I see it, I'm like, so he's on the phone. He's totally forgetting that his wife and children are there on the floor. And, they're really stressing to touch all the colors. And I'm like, oh my God. It's so, no, I'm really not feeling a lot of the advertisements here. And I'm checking them every time. And it's always the same message. Always, So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Sister Benji. And we did a live on Insta with Dr. Shantella, where she explains a little bit more about the eugenics part of the pop culture. And we have to save that for later. But we also spoke about the KPN ad, where you explained a little bit about the behavior of the sister in the KPN, where she was ringing. That was the phone.
Phone with the young girl, and she was angry with her mom and dad.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like Suriname parents. You better sit your butt down. Where you're going?
Yeah.
Give me that damn phone.
Exactly.
But if you're going to talk about that, then we are going to hit, I think, mostly the eugenics part. But I'm not sure. So we're going to take that for another. No, you want to say something?
I mean, again, it's just anything where you disrupt what a family looks like, the authority within the family. So the phone is the authority, and the parents have nothing to do with this child. So, I mean, it kind of goes to, if you can disrupt a Black family, if you can disrupt this Black child into thinking that she has the authority, and as soon as she can get on the phone to her white friend or whatever and go upstairs, she is now not only in a safe space, but she's in a space where she's accepted, and this is her family, as opposed to the family that's downstairs eating. So again, you're making teenagers, you're making young people decision makers. And again, that's pop culture goes hand in hand with money. It's that the consumer culture.
Right.
So, my thing is, what happened when you didn't have a cell phone? How many of us grew up with one phone in the house, if you did have that? And it was usually in the kitchen or in the living room. So you had to get up and go to it, and anyone that was in the room could hear you. You didn't get to pull the phone into a closet or something to have a private conversation. So this idea of yours as opposed to household, yours as opposed to family, yours as opposed to communal, but always yours that someone else is paying for.
Exactly. And you better not be touching that phone just like that.
Exactly.
You call it.
Right.
Beautiful people. We
Yeah.
still have 3 minutes left. I have to say, I don't know. It happened so fast. Oh, this went by so fast, these 2 hours. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for participating or being in the, we call it a show. Let's call it a show. The In Conversation with show. What the hell? It's out. It's our time. It's out. So thank you for being in the show. Do you want to have a quick word, a quick hello to your whatever? All of you have 1 minute to say something.
Well, may I start? Actually, Dr. Shantella, it was a real blessing. I really thank you for those knowledge you brought me and many of us watching the show actually this evening, and enlightening us about the power, negative power of pop culture into our communities, but mostly into our children's, the next to take it over in a few days. So also some kind of inside out information about the tools we might use to protect ourselves if still can be protected somehow. So it was really a pleasure for me to have you on the show. And hopefully you like my music some way, somehow you'll share it, and so we can have some soul music back, the Sam Cooke feelings back in when music means something.
Yes.
To rebuild the society, our communities, in all diversity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Benji?
Benji.
Yeah, I'm a little bit tired, but I'm hearing everything. I'm just telling you. But what I really want to thank you for is that, you're very structural, concrete, explain how this pop culture is working, and you see it when you're looking at the TV or when you listen. What do they mean by that? Because you do feel insulted. I do feel insulted when I see certain things. I'm like, really, again, So I'm happy that I could see it now more within the construct of white supremacy, and I really want to thank you, and thank you so much for being here with us and enlightening us. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Shantella. You want to say something? I know we're just 1 minute, but it's okay.
Just really quickly, thank you so much. Like I said, it's always an honor to be on the same platform with you, Eyedontha, and Benji, Sister Benji, to finally get to be on the platform with you is amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Just always remember, again, what it is that you're watching, you're ingesting it the same way you would food. And if you're finding that it's making you have emotional, spiritual reactions to it, you must take the time to deconstruct it, or it will be to your detriment. If you're losing sleep, something's making your stomach hurt, you're having headaches from it, stop. Okay? Or stop. First and foremost, stop. But you're always welcome to send me emails with questions about what it is that you're watching, because this is what I do. And so for the last 25 years, I had a great teacher, Dr. Robert List, over at Jackson State University in Mississippi, who taught us how to deconstruct. And I am still deconstructing, again, 30 years later, anything that I watch, listen to, see, to ensure that it is not impacting me negatively. And I invite you guys to do the same.
Oh, that was a beautiful. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for joining. See you the next time. I hope you join us again, Dr. Shantella. It was a really
anytime.
Thank you. Blessing. Next time.
Of course, I hope as well, because we'll have to reconstruct once we deconstruct.
Yes.
Work to do.
Yes. And send me some music.
I'll be doing it.
Please.